yourself to everyone watching?
Yeah, I'm Sheen. I'm an AWS serverless hero, and I've been kind of in the serverless community for a few years now.
Right. And you've had a breakout session at reInvent this year, right?
Yes, yeah, a session I did two talks.
Great. And what was that about?
So it's basically about mainly event bridge and looking at some of the event-driven patterns around event bridge. Yeah.
Very cool. So can you give any patterns in particular?
Um, so basically, I touched upon some of the common patterns like orchestration, choreography,
Nice.
and circuit breaker.
Yeah.
And also, I introduced patterns like distributed orchestration or gatekeeper event bus and things like that. So, in terms of patterns and implementation wise, it's nothing new.
Yeah.
But what I try to bring out are some of the best practices people often forget. Like when you design event, you know that you preach a lot. So there are certain things that helps people to I need to now think that way. Makes similar with orchestration.
Yeah.
There are different ways you can make a mess of tangled architecture. So how can you keep it simple, like within a microservice or within your bounded context?
Exactly.
When you go outside, use task tokens, so make it asynchronous. So those sort of little things that I bring out, and people afterwards talk to me and said, you know, because not those things like people always
Exactly. Yeah.
think about. So
Yeah, exactly. I really like that. I like these kind of nuances, I guess, as we build event-driven solutions or serverless solutions, and it's easy to go on a certain path, as you said, when you go explore the path, and the patterns can really help, right?
yeah,
Build these out.
yes. And one of the patterns I purposely brought in was the functionless.
Yeah.
Functionless integration is mainly because people still think lambda heavy all the time.
Yeah.
Even getting the mindset to have an express state function, express state function
Yeah.
behind an API gateway endpoint is challenging for many to understand. So these are the little things that it needs to be brought out. So that means people will understand, get more understanding.
You're pushing these patterns. So Sheen works at Lego, so you're pushing these patterns internally at Lego.
So most of these things come out from my experience working with engineers and helping them build.
Yeah.
And also sometimes I think and I then bring out something to the team as well. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. So Sheen's a service hero. So back at reInvent, how do you reinvent then so far?
Amazing, amazing. Like I said, two sessions,
Yeah.
fully booked. All seats taken, great feedback afterwards. So and interacting with many and just catching up. I was at the O'Reilly booth earlier today, and people came by and had a chat and trying to understand why this book, what is it. One thing I understand is like many books talk about deep technical stuff, but people are also looking at the overall development practices and those kind of things as well. So overall, very good, very good.
Just quickly tell us about your book. You mentioned the book there. We didn't talk about the book. Let's talk about the book.
Yeah, so the book is about end-to-end development of serverless on AWS. It's mainly looking at enterprise scale adoption. So it's not just like looking at the Lambda function writing or something. It starts. It's kind of uh, useful for anyone starting new and also who are into the journey. Look at some of the best practices. So it starts off with looking at evolution of serverless, and then looks at in an enterprise, what are the things that you need to be, taken care before you jump into serverless? Then it talks about architectural patterns. So if you are familiar with the legacy patterns, like a typical two-tier, three-tier client server, what can you bring from their experience to serverless? So these sort of things, and security, development, operating on, on AWS, and also touches on sustainability. And how can you keep things going, because serverless is evolving, as you know. So it can be outdated so quickly. So how can you make sure that you are up there all the time? So that's kind of the overall. So there are 11 chapters. Every chapter, end of every chapter, we have an expert Q&A. So every chapter has an expert from the industry, and the 5 questions, their views and ideas,
Fantastic.
and two very good serverless adoption case studies as well.
Right. And when do we expect the book to be out?
It's the early release is available now.
Cool.
And we're expecting to out end of Jan 2024.
Great, fantastic. Well, thanks, Sheen, for speaking today.
Thank you
And
so
enjoy
much
the rest
for
of your
having
week.